Hello everyone, welcome to the Spooky Noodles Podcast. Today we'll be covering the tale of Baba Yaga. Just so we're on the same page, we will not be talking about John Wick today, although he might even be scarier than the real Baba Yaga. Baba Yaga is underappreciated in the horror community, but luckily she's an iconic character in Slavic folklore. But what's so creepy about an old lady? There are plenty of interpretations of Baba Yaga. She is most commonly depicted as either a witch or an ogre. Baba Yaga is often thought of as meaning grandmother witch, but this is just a conjecture as the true meaning of the word Yaga is still unknown. Most stories seem to lean into the witch category though, so we'll be sticking with that for this episode. On the surface there isn't much to her. She just looks like any other decrepit old hag, but aside from that she is anything but normal. Let's start with her home. Baba Yaga resides in the woods. The hut that she lives in is typical, apart from the gigantic chicken legs that hold it up. These legs allow her to move the hut whenever and wherever she pleases. When traversing, she uses a massive mortar and pestle to fly around. Sometimes she'll also bring a broom along to wipe away any tracks she may have left. She is a forest-based entity. Her strange methods of travel and dwelling are not the only things that make her unsettling, though. In some stories, she's just a kind old woman, but hey, this is Spooky Noodles, not joyous pasta. Baba Yaga is a trickster who often eats children. She uses her motherly aura to lure unsuspecting children right into her trap. Now you may be thinking, isn't this basically just the witch from Hansel and Gretel? It may seem that Baba Yaga is just an altered version of this tale, but it is more likely the other way around. The earliest recorded reference of Baba Yaga was found in a Russian book from 1755. The story of Hansel and Gretel was first published in the early 1800s. However, none of that really matters because this is folklore which at its core is subjective. The core concept behind Baba Yaga is widespread throughout Europe, which has in turn caused a massive number of variations when it comes to the small details. The tale of Baba Yaga is most likely to have been spread in order to scare kids into acting right. However, some have found a more significant meaning to the entity, especially when analyzing the tales that paint her in a more positive light. Thanks to her ties with nature, she can often be seen as a guardian of it. Some even feel inspired by her solidarity and rejection of the usual ways of living. Unsurprisingly, there are a lot of references to Baba Yaga in media. As mentioned earlier, the John Wick series focuses on the dark side of her. If you didn't already know, Baba Yaga is the name given to John Wick, who is basically the boogeyman of the criminal world. It is kind of hard to explain, so if you haven't already, please go watch the original John Wick. A more light-hearted example of the Baba Yaga in media is in The Sims 2. Tucked away in a corner of the map is a house supported by two staircases. These staircases represent the chicken legs that Baba Yaga's house stands on. The legend of Baba Yaga is quite unique. Most of the folklore stuff that I cover is completely negative, but after researching this episode I've learned that folklore can be used for more than scaring people into acting right. It is quite cool to see how people have interpreted the tale in a way that leads them to a positive message. If you enjoyed this analysis, please consider sticking around for more. Next Sunday we will be covering the story of a childhood nightmare. Our sources are linked in the show notes. If you've got any suggestions or tips for our future episodes, please contact us at our email spookynoodlespod@gmail.com or at our Twitter @spookynoodles. Your feedback is greatly appreciated. Make sure to keep your taste for horror alive by watching the next episode of Spooky Noodles on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or YouTube. Thank you for listening.